got huge announcements from AMD, from Intel, and from NVIDIA at CES 2022. Welcome back to PC Builder. I'm Jason. Today we're going to do a quick run through of what you need to know from CES 2022 and take your questions on whether you should build now or wait, what the heck is going on with the GPU market, and more. As always, this is a cat. Give the video a like if you get value out of it and subscribe and click the bell icon. That way you get notified when we release cool content. With that, let's jump into it. AMD is launching the RX 6500 XT, a $200 MSRP budget GPU. Now, AMD compared to the RX 570 and showed 30 to 50% higher performance in its graphs. That would put it somewhere around an overclocked RX 580 or a GTX 1660 non-super level performance for 1080p gaming, with 4GB of VRAM and only 4GB of VRAM to discourage miners from buying it. Now, coming in supposedly big quantities, it's launching January 19th. AMD also debuted its Radeon Super Resolution, or RSR for short. This is going to bring AMD's FSR upscaling technology to any game as long as you have a currently supported AMD GPU, and it's going to be enabled through a setting in AMD's Adrenalin driver software. AMD claims a huge performance boost using RSR up to 1.7 times, but we'll wait to see just how big the actual performance gains are. Ryzen 5000 V-Cache CPUs are coming, but it seems only in the form of the 8-core, 16-thread 5800X 3D. With its massive 96 megabytes of L3 cache, AMD claims it's going to be one of the fastest gaming CPUs and compared it in many production tests to the 5900X. Now, no pricing was given and only a vague date of spring 2022 for the launch. More about this in the Q&A. Ryzen 7000 CPUs are launching in the second half of 2022. Ryzen 7000 is going to get PCIe Gen 5, use an LGA 1718 socket, that means no more pins on the CPU, and it's going to be on the 5nm process, as well as use DDR5, with no mention of DDR4. So hopefully you get that DDR5 supply thing sorted out in time. Now let's go over NVIDIA's announcements, and don't blink, otherwise you might miss it. The first thing they announced is the RTX 3050 with 8GB of VRAM is launching for $250 on January 27th. Now, in its graphs, NVIDIA compared it to the GTX 1650 non-super, the GTX 1650 Ti, and GTX 1050, and showed approximately double the performance of those very weak cards. NVIDIA says it will perform at 60 FPS or better in modern titles at 1080p, but the 8GB of VRAM might make it a target for Ethereum miners. The RTX 3090 Ti is launching
the RTX 3090 Ti,
but we got almost no information about it other than there's going to be another announcement later in January on it. Now, based on the limited info they did give, I'm guessing about a 10% or less performance boost, probably for a huge price hike over an already insanely expensive RTX 3090. Now, Intel CES announcement. And their biggest announcement, honestly, was the thing that they didn't announce, a release date for its Arc GPUs to desktop. Now, most of us were expecting at least an announcement of a second quarter 2022 launch date. But Intel only said that its GPUs were shipping to OEMs right now, not consumers, and heavily hinted it was mostly on the laptop side. Not great news for the GPU crisis. More about this in the Q&A. Now, Intel's video encoder on the new Arc GPUs was shown off with not a lot of numbers, but some big performance claims. XeSS, their version of video upscaling, will be launching with a couple of titles coming soon, which includes a director's cut of Death Stranding. Intel 12th generation non-K CPUs are launching alongside B660, H670, and H610 motherboards, but in typical Intel fashion, there's a catch. Unlike the 12th generation K unlocked CPUs, which can boost their clock speeds up indefinitely as long as the system can cool the CPU, that's similar to how Ryzen CPUs have always boosted, the locked 12th generation Intel CPUs are going to use the old limited time power boost system. That is, unless you get a motherboard that will disable the power limits. But while MSI debuted a B660 board that disables power limits out of the box, it isn't clear how many or which models are going to do that as well. Thanks, Intel. You're keeping it confusing as always for consumers. The CPUs are available right now, and the motherboards are supposedly coming imminently, maybe by the time this video goes live. Intel is going to release a Halo version of its 12900K Alder Lake CPU that will boost up to 5.5 GHz out of the box, but it's also only going to OEMs and not to DIY enthusiasts like you and me. It's called the 12900KS and may put a dent in AMD's Ryzen 5800X 3D, calling itself the best gaming CPU. That being said, since the 12900K is already a nuclear reactor when it comes to cooling, I'm a little afraid of what it's going to take to cool the 12900KS, But then again, I'm not gonna have to worry about it because I won't be able to buy one as a regular PC builder. So what does all this mean for you? Well, let's jump into the questions and find out. Let's start off with the GPU market, and let's start off with the RTX 3050 versus RX 6500 XT, the two budget GPUs that are coming. We had tons of questions on this from Flytraps, from Raiden, from Gary, from David, Mr. Broken TV, and Justin Hurley, and all of them related to basically which is going to be the real card for budget gamers. Are some of these cards with only 4 gigabytes of VRAM going to be a problem? Are miners going to buy up these cards? So let's just quickly go through them. What level of performance are we expecting? I mean, I'm guessing right now. We'll see in a couple of weeks when the cards come out. We'll be able to test them. Just based on the specs so far and based on the performance metrics that AMD showed for the 6500 XT, I'm guessing that that's a GTX 1650, the vanilla version, not the Super, not the TI, kind of like RX 590, overclocked RX 580 levels of performance. Gosh, it's like, what, 3-4 years later since those cards launched, and we're still at that level of performance for the same price point, $200. Yeah, I know that RX 590 launched for more than that, but they quickly cut the price down because nobody was buying it for that. That seems a little rough, but then let's look at the RTX 3050. Honestly, the performance levels that NVIDIA was showing off in their weird graphs, I kind of really hate their graphs, by the way. They make them as vague as possible. And they're comparing them against very, very weak GPUs, a GTX 1650, not a 1650 Super. A 1650 Super level performance would be great. So I think that miners, even though it's not profitable right now for miners to buy GPUs and mine Ethereum, if the merge is going to happen in June, they're doing it anyway because they're just caught up in this fever bubble. Now, I'll note this week Ethereum has crashed, actually. It's up down $1,300 from its high of $4,800 in early November, and that might slow some things down. I know some AMD GPUs are in stock all of a sudden, 6600 XTs and 6600 for not that bad a price. So I think these GPUs are going to hit a market that is going to be favorable to them. I'm worried that the NVIDIA ones are going to get bought up. I don't think those will be the ones for budget gamers. I think you're going to want to find an RX 6500 XT, and I think you can roughly expect an RX 580 level performance for about $200, and that's the best we're going to get right now. But if you can find a GPU like that that's actually brand new and not have to buy a used GTX 1063 gigabyte card for that, then that's a win. That's an overall win. And I think we'll see, especially with Intel releasing some budget CPUs, you'll be able to build a budget gaming PC that'll play games 60 FPS in most titles, in easier to run titles, even more than that, for somewhere around $800 again. And that to me feels like a win. I think we'll also see in the pre-built market, we'll see the cost of, well, not the cost, we'll see lower cost pre-builts come back. Right now, there's nothing below $1,000 that's worth anything other than 8 gigabyte, kind of, I'm just barely here PCs. So that's overall good. Now let's jump over to ARC GPUs and Chunky Thighs, Roderick, Annette Sharma. Where are the ARC GPUs? This was scary for me. I think this should be scary for gamers that there's no announcement date yet for Intel GPUs. Does that mean Intel's not coming with GPUs? Probably not. No, they're coming for sure. But it just in terms of their release strategy, are they running into some kind of hiccup on desktop? Because remember, laptop GPUs are easier than desktop ones. Desktop ones, because they're bigger, you can put bigger heat sinks on them, you can give them a lot more power. There's kind of more performance is expected from the desktop version than the laptop version. And this is one of the reasons that, for instance, NVIDIA hasn't released an RTX 3050 until now, until they feel like they have to, because they could shove that in a laptop and not have to worry about some of its performance deficiencies. I'm a little worried that maybe Intel's in the same boat. I could be totally wrong about this. And I just should also say, this is just speculation on my part. Maybe they just kind of screwed up on a PR basis and it's coming and they'll give us more information soon. So I'm just worried that something's gone wrong on the desktop version of that. That would be very bad news for the GPU crisis. As I went over in my GPU update in December, that's one of the linchpins to starting to break this GPU market in the right direction is we need more supply. And if Intel can't supply that, then Yeesh. All right, let's go over to should you buy now or should you wait in terms of the RX 5800X 3D and, of course, maybe a little bit of the Ryzen 7000, as well as price reductions, potential price reductions when those CPUs come out on the Ryzen 5000 lineup. And we got great questions by XTwitX69, who, by the way, got a lot of questions upvoted. Hey, congrats. Maria Music, JSJ, Syed, Ryan, Hodak. Here's my overall stance on this. I'll try and keep this brief without going into all the market dynamics. I don't wait for things that don't have a confirmed release date. Spring 2022 is not a confirmed release date to me. Could be August for all we know. I just don't wait. Think of all the poor sods who sat there waiting for the RTX 3000 lineup to launch, and they weren't building a PC, and they as far in advance as like 6 or 8 months of that announcement, and then you couldn't even get one after the launch, and they ended up waiting almost like 1.5 to 2 years to build a gaming PC, and for what? Maybe 15 or 20% more performance, and having to wait 2 years to get it? That's crazy to me. So no, I wouldn't wait for it, and I would not count on prices going down for the vanilla 5000 series just because the 5800X 3D comes out. I'm expecting that to probably be a lot more limited run, and AMD's really gonna charge a price premium, and I think they're gonna try and keep the prices of the 5000 series high. And that's why I'm going to start recommending for budget gaming builds or even mid-range gaming builds. If the performance is good, I'll start recommending Intel 12th gen CPUs. Certainly 11th and 10th gen are good ones right now. If you're looking to build a budget gaming PC with some of these newer budget GPUs that are coming out, I really think AMD needs to lower its prices. But will they? Can you count on that? Can you take that to the bank to the point where I would wait for it? No. I'd go ahead and build whatever you want to build it now because these don't have firm release dates. ViperX Sam's asked, basically, is the Ryzen 3D V-Cache chip, the 5800X 3D, is it going to be better than Alder Lake? Yes, it's going to be better than Alder Lake, and frankly, it's going to be the best DIY PC CPU for gaming. I know that Alder Lake, they're coming out with the 12900KS. My understanding is that that's OEM only. That's only going to folks like, Dell, Lenovo, others. So you're not going to be able to get your hands on one unless you buy a pre-built and rip it out of it. And that sucks. So if you want max gaming performance once it launches, yes, Ryzen 5800X 3D is going to be the new one. The question is whether or not it was going to run hot or not. It's going to run like a regular Ryzen 5800X. That thing is not that hard to cool. I wouldn't really worry about it that much. Remember, you're increasing the cache. You're not increasing the cores. You're not increasing a lot of other things that are super power hungry. So overall, I think even if it runs a smidge hot, it's not going to be like 12900K levels of cooling. You'll be able to cool it with, any of the mid-tier or, mid-tier AIOs or large air coolers. Got a lot of questions about whether or not the 5800X 3D and even Ryzen 7000, what motherboards are they going to be compatible with? So let's just briefly go over this. 5800X 3D is on the AM4 socket. You're going to be able to pick up any B550, X570 board. I would recommend one with BIOS flashback. I don't know if that's going to be necessary, if they're going to require an updated AGESA instruction set in the BIOS for that. If that's the case, I will again recommend that you're only buying motherboards with BIOS flashback. That's been the case for Ryzen. That's a cat. I am going to release an updated version of my best motherboards for Ryzen 5000, and I'll include in there the 5800X 3D sometime this year, and I'll do it, before the launch, so you'll know what kind of motherboards to be looking for out there. Overall, though, I shouldn't really change that much in terms of what you're looking for. Onto Ryzen 7000, they are going to be on a brand new socket. It's going to be LGA 1718. Okay, it's easier to remember. That just refers to the total number of pins on the thing itself. LGA, for those of you who aren't as familiar with some of these terms, that simply means the pins are on the motherboard, not the CPU. So that's different than the current setup we have with like Ryzen 5000 and the previous Ryzen CPUs. That's good. Somebody asked me a question like, how are you supposed to apply thermal paste to the new CPUs? Because if you look, it's got these crazy notches in it, right? And to me, that looks like just kind of mounting pressure points for the socket cover. I don't think you're gonna try and put thermal paste in those weird little crevices. This is probably the most upvoted question we had, which is, are we leading to an era where your CPUs and GPUs need to match to get the full benefit communication. And this is by XTwit X69. And by match, I'm assuming you mean Intel CPU with an Intel GPU, AMD CPU with an AMD GPU, and that leaves NVIDIA out in the cold. Well, certainly on the mobile front, that seems to be where things are going. And, you know, I've heard other tech YouTubers who have more inside context than I have talk about that's why NVIDIA is pushing more like the 3050 to desktop, because they're getting pushed out of the mobile space because Intel's able to bundle their mobile processors with their mobile GPUs, and AMD is going to be able to do the same thing. Intel, it's called, what's it called, Eco, and with AMD, it's called AMD Advantage. I don't know, but on the desktop platform, definitely not yet. There were some synergies that AMD tried, for instance, you know, smart access memory, but NVIDIA quickly countered with, it's just all resizable bar, right? They countered with their own version of it. So I think in terms of the desktop do-it-yourself building a PC, I don't think we're going there, but certainly on the laptop side, I think it is going there. It is kind of weird. Master Miko Bro asks, I've heard motherboards limit RAM speeds. Is this true? And if it is there a way to change it? I get this question all the time on my best memory for Ryzen 5000 video. This is really confusing, mostly because of Intel. Intel, for a long time, locked away the ability to overclock memory behind their Z series motherboards, their high-end motherboards that are aimed at their K CPUs, which you can overclock. All of their locked parts, that means the parts that you can't overclock, like the 10400, for instance, 11400, the 12400, they didn't used to allow you to change the memory speed until basically they started losing a ton of market share to AMD, which is like, hey, you can do whatever you want on our motherboard. You want to overclock any CPU? Go right ahead. You want to overclock the memory? Go right ahead. So Intel has been they've been forced to allow overclocking now on their B series motherboards, but only B560, and that's with the 11th and 10th generation CPUs. And now with the B660, you will be able to overclock it. What does that mean? Well, most people don't realize when you buy a memory kit that says it's 3600 CL16, that memory kit, when you just plug it into the motherboard and don't do anything, will probably run at like 2133 or maybe 2400 megahertz tops until you activate either the Extreme Memory Profile, XMP, or the AMD version of it, which is DOCP, right? So those are overclocking profiles for that memory. Now people think, well, I don't want to overclock. That sounds dangerous. It's not for the memory modules. You just plug it in, you turn on XMP, DOCP, and the memory modules should run at their rated speeds, and it'll program in all the timings that need to go in there, and they've been tested to run and to run stably at a certain voltage. Basic explanation on that. I'll probably update my best memory for Ryzen 5000 video, and I'll include a little bit more explanation about this in maybe a more succinct way. Did gamers win or lose at CES? I kind of feel like we kind of lost and we kind of won maybe a little bit more. I kind of feel like maybe we lost more than we won. Let's talk about why. Yes, we got some budget GPUs finally. That's actually going to help the whole market, not just the budget folks, because those budget folks right now are competing with mid-range folks, we're competing with higher end folks. It's a mess for everybody. I went over all this in my GPU update around Christmas time. Would prices in 2022 get better? But overall, the additional influx of cards on that front, we're going to win a little bit. On the other side, Intel Arc GPUs not getting a launch date for DIY PC desktop. Oof, that's scary. Among Intel, AMD, and NVIDIA, who won? Kind of none of them, really. I mean, AMD is a little bit in a weird position in that their CPUs right now, if you look at the Ryzen 5600X, 5800X, 5900X, those CPUs, for me, really need price cuts, but they're not cutting prices. They're not doing the things that got AMD to where it is by being the best value. They're trying now to lean on this thing called mindshare, where people just mindlessly buy something that's been marketed to them. I don't like that. That's what Intel relied on for a long time, and look what the state Intel is in. Between the three, I think NVIDIA probably a clear loser, though they're like a lot of people, you could say a lot of bad things about them and their fanboys will still kind of carry water for them to the end of time. So I don't know if they actually got hurt by this, but really only releasing a 3050 to the desktop and 3090 Ti cash grab, kind of scary. And then AMD, yes, Ryzen 5800X 3D. I'm not crazy about the name, but I get it. coming spring. Again, I expected to come out of this with a concrete launch date for Ryzen 3D V-Cache chips, and I really was hoping for a 5600X 3D chip. It seems like we're not going to get that. We're only going to get the 5800X 3D, and they're comparing it to the 5900X a lot, so that makes me think that they want to price it up there on the 5900X. And I don't like that. I think that that's bad strategy for AMD. It's bad business for gamers. I just think that, gosh, can you guys just, for time out for 5 seconds, just stop taking a pound of flesh out of gamers, PC builders? For just a half second, you're raking in record profits. So overall, I think no real clear winners among those companies. NVIDIA kind of the loser, but I don't think it's going to hurt them. Intel, though, I think is the biggest question mark coming out of this with those Arc GPUs. Nowhere is a launch date to be seen. For those of you who don't follow us on Twitter or something, just know that the cat literally sits in front of this desk and is part of every recording video that we do because he will not leave. And if I tell him to get off the desk, he will get very angry with me. Won't you? He gets very angry. Okay, we got a couple more questions, and it's a great time for the cat to answer them. Syed asked, will the cat accept 5800X 3D? Ambrosius, are we going to accept the 5800X 3D? Maybe. Tomato Sauce asks, what is your cat's name? He has a lot of names. This is Ambrosius the cat. Of course, we also call him Mr. Bear, Boo Boo McBearface, and we call him the Baba Cat, if any of you are horror movie fans. He just comes in and destroys things. BK Yap asks, what is the meaning of life? Having a cat in 42, and you should be good from there. Let me know down in the comments, what did you think of CES 2022 announcements? And of course, remember to give the video a like if you got value of it. It makes a big difference to the channel. If you're looking for more cool content, what are we gonna do this year in the GPU market in 2022? Is it gonna go up? Is it gonna go down? Is it gonna be a good time to build a PC? I'm gonna leave the video right here, my thoughts on it. Check it out, and I'll catch you on the next one.